Probably okay. I do that to Janet all the time in my office, like if I had to do something at her desk, because she's 5 foot tall. So I'll lower the chair and she forgets every time. And she'll be like, June. I'm like, I can't see you. It's up here.
Probably one of them's mine.
Yep, yep, it's mine.
There you go.
Up there, Claudia.
Nothing much.
How's school going for your kid?
It's going. Had a field trip today, so
What grade is he in? 5th?
no, fourth.
Where'd you guys go on your field trip?
Embassy Theater. Watch a magic show.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
fun.
Nice.
What district is
All the
your
chat
son
with the
in?
kids was up.
Do-
Saw Rosie at Walmart.
Like, where do they live?
Today,
Yeah,
grocery shopping.
yeah.
Name them, I think he's, could be two. Their letters. Oh, the ABC, I don't know. He's over that area. Where are we? So he's north, south.
You have everybody?
Mm-hmm.
This is the first.
I wonder if he's in my district.
No, A. Are you an A? No, not A. Yeah, A. Gary Crum.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yep, that's Gary. Yep.
Is he running again?
Who, Gary? Is that? Yep.
All right. Call to order Historic Preservation Commission meeting, October 3rd, 2023. Roll call, Brian Boyer.
Here.
June Jillian.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Barclay.
Here.
Me. Chris Sutton. Gen Z's not here. Claudia Camargo.
Here.
Hope Wilson. Jody Church.
Yep.
Confirmation of quorum, which we do have. Minute approval, July 11th, 2023. No, there's not a copy of the minutes in here, is there? Oh, no, I didn't think so. I didn't think so. Anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Alright. All in favor of approving the minutes? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay.
Approved. Old business none, new business, 45 South Public Square, is wanting to do a mural.
I was under the impression that someone from the Main Street organization
Okay,
was going to present. Is that correct, Jennifer?
Yeah, Crystal said she would be here to represent Main Street. And of course, we have Colleen as the building property, the building owner that's here. So that is up to you guys, how you want to proceed.
yeah, I guess, Colleen, did you have anything you wanted to say? Crystal gets here.
Sure, I mean, maybe we can go through a couple things and
Okay,
open it up for a discussion. So the location, 45 South Public Square, is otherwise known as the Herald Republican Building, and this would be the south facing wall and only part of the wall, like approximately a third of the wall. And we picked that in part because It's an entrance to the hospital. The city and Trine University, it's been my understanding that they're trying to make kind of like almost an easy corridor from us to kind of like the parks. And it just adds to the beauty. We also looked at car count and visibility from the south approaching South Wayne Street, and also the usage of nearby buildings, which would be the community center, so, and also the library. You can visibly kind of see some of it. And then the courthouse, and also other, and the new courthouse, which is also back there. So that's kind of why the building was picked. And then also you have to consider that property owners also have to agree to allow it to happen. I know us as property owners, we've agreed to, clean up any of the brick and make sure it's ready for any kind of paint. And then the park, it's a park. So it's kind of like the backdrop to the park, which is being utilized more and more. And it's my understanding that they hope it to be utilized a lot more. And the marigolds, I believe you have a picture of the marigolds, yes or no?
I thought it was clever, Colleen.
Oh, there's one there too. I was looking.
So
I like how that complements the pollinator rain garden that the county put in, and they intend on putting in more. I like how that kind of goes together.
And in reference to what she's speaking of, it's this area right here that it has the rain garden in it. And there's a lot of flowers in the rain garden in the summer. The artist said, so she did one on the sprinkling can in Auburn, which she didn't do a lot of coverage. She did as minimal as possible. So she's going to leave some of the as much of the brick showing as possible and still making sure it's clearly what it is, if that makes any sense. So we did leave some examples of the artist's work. Amy Book, who is a retired art teacher, she did teach in Angola at MSD. And she's done murals across northeastern Indiana and Ohio. Are there any basic questions? And this isn't like, my husband, we're also committed. We've agreed to pay for scaffolding and pay for the lifts and pay for, some other things. So it's not like it's not a full matching grant, but we estimate it'll cost us about $5,000 to $6,000 maybe.
The grant's 10?
The grant is 10, but that's above and beyond the grant. The grant just covers the costs for the artists and supplies. So it appears too that there's a couple letters of support, one coming from Andrea Kern, who's the Director of Strategic Initiatives from the Office of Community and Rural Affairs, otherwise known as OCRA. There's also a letter of support from the City of Angola, which is the mayor. And then also another letter of support, which I can't read. I can't necessarily read the names. However, it looks like there have been some letters sent in, of people wanting this. Approximately in 2017, 2018, there was something called the Hometown Collaborative Initiative, in which it was a 2-year study collecting data on what our community wanted. And that was forums, that was surveys, that was word of mouth. And based on those results, one of the things our community desired was arts and culture. And from that, that started the sculpture tour, and, it's kind of like, how do we get more things going? And I know there's been, other things pop up, like the Steuben County, not the Steuben Art Scene, which is the first like arts focused nonprofit in our county. And we still have the sculpture tour. We still have the arts festival. This last summer, we brought in not only a glass blower to do demonstrations and allow for people to do it as well, but also a glass torch artist. So,
And I'll follow that up with mentioning that there were 100 people at Art Fest with an economic impact of $79,000 in direct sales throughout the county. So I thought that was pretty impressive. And Main Street put that on, correct?
yes. And the
For a
arts-
cost, and it was, the cost to the city to put it on was minimal, and there was a huge ROI of like 5,000%.
in this area here, that's a park, there were more things in the park, and there will be more things in the park. And then this is also adjacent to where the food trucks are coming. So if we think of it more as like a gathering area. So in the content, it's pretty, it's family friendly, it's floral. I did do a little bit of research on the background of marigolds, and there was some things I came across that, marigolds are named after the Mother Mary. So, I don't know, but I don't think it's a racy, confrontational type mural. So, and the artist did pick it. I just said I wanted, my parameters were something joyful. So to her, that's joyful. So I guess we can open it up for questions, discussion, or comments.
Colleen, have you received the grant already?
Yes.
So have you received the monies?
But regardless,
I'm just looking at the letter of support from Andrea Kern.
Yeah.
And it indicates that you need to file a form with the,
well, this is,
I just-
the point here is we can't really do anything if this body doesn't want it.
Yeah, I discussed the form with my state rep and and asked her when I read the letter, and she said, yeah, the correct way is to go to your local organization first. So I did check into that because I thought that might come up. And I have a copy of that form if anybody wants. I think I do.
And then to my.
Yeah, I do.
You normally ask
Here, you
people
want to pass that
if they're
down?
doing a project, if they have the funds.
well,
Is that a
I just want to know if
prerequisite?
you already got the grant or not.
Oh, okay.
Whether she has the grant or not is irrelevant. What she's asking is
You want to,
us, do we want it there? How it gets there is not what we're here for.
The reason I asked that is because I had talked to some people in that division reservation. That's why I asked. And I didn't know if anyone on the staff has done that.
Well, like I said, I did it because the grant came from the Destination Development Corporation. So they're the ones who deal with everything to do with the grant. The DNR and the historic preservation that she's referencing, the division, they're secondary. The two, it says right in the grant guidelines, the two agencies are not communicating with each other. That the tourism division is not going to do the certificate of application. So the historic preservation people are pretty much out of it from the grant side until it gets requested.
Right.
Yeah. So they wouldn't necessarily know when you talk to them what was going on with the other agency.
No, I just called them to ask what their normal procedures were with this sort of a request. I guess I'm looking at page 61 of our guidebooks. When you applied for the COA, were you informed to look at the guidelines, historic preservation?
Sorry, am I on?
So we operate under a book of guidelines.
Oh, there's guidelines, suggested guidelines. And then there's the law, which this is not, guidelines are not the law.
No, but we're only concerned with the guidelines. I'm not saying you're doing anything illegal. I'm just asking that if you had looked at our guidelines, it actually counsels us as an HBC, and we created these guidelines, that we do not paint brick building that has not been painted before.
Well, I think since the advent of technology when it comes to permeable paints that are specific to brick. For me, it's palatable. And then
Permeable does not mean removable, so it's an irreversible action, which is probably the biggest concern with the preservation board. And also, we have a list of approved colors that we have always gone by when someone has, as you well know yourself, when you wanted to color your windows. There's a palette of approved colors, which are the historic palette. I don't believe those colors are on that palette. Look them up, but
well, this is art. It's not, now historically,
it is still the
Angola
facade
is-
of a building. It is still the facade of a historic building.
Angola has had murals in the downtown.
Yes, and they were very muted, but that was before the HBC. I can only think of one.
There was two.
Where's the-
The other one was on the Elemento building.
Oh, was that an ad?
Yeah, it
That
just,
was an
Doesn't
ad.
matter, it
it
was
said
painted
Land
on,
America.
Yeah,
it was still painted on the building.
right, and that was long before the HBC, as was the
I mean,
long before the HBC.
if you get out and go anywhere now, I travel through Indiana and Michigan every day. There is murals on every building in every town that I go to.
I
So
travel a lot too, but what you don't know is, are they trying to preserve a district? Do they have
I mean-
guidelines for that district? Because Auburn doesn't. I don't think Fort Wayne has one either. So,
are the guidelines out of line? That's the question.
well, then you should change your guidelines, but I'm just saying.
I didn't write the guidelines.
We have acted in the past, they're fairly recent guidelines, actually.
Well, things can change.
We have acted in the past upon the guidelines, and we actually have disapproved things because we were following the guidelines. And they are for a historic preservation district. I'm not talking about your artwork or judging your artwork or saying murals are bad and art is bad. I'm just saying, if you want to preserve an area as a historic district, there are guidelines that we ask everyone who owns a building to follow. You're the owner now. 10 years from now, you may not be. And then someone has paint on the side of the building, and which is a non-reversible process.
That's not
My
true.
husband and I are more than,
I'm not saying how long
Okay.
you'll be. You
And
might
I-
be here longer than the building, but probably not. Whether the paint is permeable or not, which is debatable, it still is a permanent decision for the building.
Well, I'm not an expert on paint. I did spend some time looking into it. I like to be prepared. It would be a masonry paint.
Right.
It's specifically designed for brick walls. The one thing I found interesting is it's also sustainable. There's no petrochemical processing. So and it doesn't peel, it doesn't flake. It's got a long life. And the two reasons people don't like painting on brick is that, one, it can hurt the wall, right? But that, what you just said, it's not
Yeah.
irreversible. It can be removed just not easily.
Not easily at all. Very
And
expensive.
that to me, I know we have guidelines, but taking that risk would be under the owners. Like if you buy your house and there's something wrong with it, you know it when you buy it, right? And you take care of it. So I kind of look at it that way with the irreversibility. Somebody can always get rid of it if they want to.
I mean, I'd rather see that on the wall than a brick that's falling down. Like you pointed out, the building down the street here, and, you know, that building's falling down. I'd rather see a building that
But-
looks
But
good.
it's not falling down at the moment, so.
Okay, well, you just a
Why?
minute ago, you just told me that the brick is crumbling out of it, so,
No, down the street, yeah.
yeah, that's
But
what I'm
this
talking about.
building is.
No, he's.
I'm
talking about
saying
the
I
other
would rather see a building like this. I would rather see something that attracts people, you know. I mean, it's something that attracts people to the area. You know, this is where Angle is always falling behind. You know, it's just like the guy with the windows over here on the building that were final. We want to, you know, and historically, they need to be, well, I guarantee when that building was built, they didn't put aluminum windows in it. They were probably wood.
No, they actually had a steel track. Yeah,
So you're, okay, I would beg to differ, but that's fine. But I mean, somebody's improving a building and we're nitpicking what everybody wants to do.
Actually, that was a
Possible that the guidelines should be maybe changed.
That's up to you.
I
But
mean,
as they
would you like a
stand right now-
mural on your building?
A mural on her building would be perfect. I can help you with the grant.
Obviously, I have issues with this because I wanted to do two buildings. But I have been looking into it and I do agree there are other solutions. We need to bend possibly a little bit. I mean, I go to Charleston and every building
one.
there's painted. And I don't know what they use. But there are paints out there and stains that let the bricks penetrate, water penetrate them and they do not peel. And it just looks like a normal brick and it's different colors. I mean, we need to be a little bit flexible and possibly change the guidelines. I mean,
That's up to you, but I am just saying, as it stands right now, I appreciate what was gone before, and I appreciate that Indiana Landmark still holds for don't paint the brick. I appreciate that any masonry man I've talked to says, don't paint the brick.
I
And
know, but
that's,
stain
and that's
and
fine.
paint is different.
It's not the same as
It's
it was
No.
50 years ago.
It's,
It is different.
but you can go online, any masonry person is gonna say.
I do
don't.
go online.
Yeah.
I promise. I can bring you articles that say stain with this old house. They do it.
Is this going to be stained?
Or is that
No,
an
but
option?
It's paint.
It's the Sherwin-Williams.
It's silicate, yeah.
paint That is.
Silicate and minerals, which apparently are what
What do you
makes the
got, Jody?
difference.
Let's hear from you.
I love the picture.
Mm-hmm.
I have really strong feelings about going against the guidelines that we were commissioned to create and have worked hard at. And I've been here a long time and we don't paint brick. I know that, I get it. I love murals. I've been all over too. And I was just in Goshen and actually I was in Fort Wayne and I saw, I think it's the old, I can't think of it right now, building. And they have this lovely mural all around, but it's on the aluminum composite material. It's even cut out around the flowers and it's gorgeous and I love it. I just really have a hard time with this. And, just because we have committed to doing the right thing based on our guidelines, and that's where I'm at. I'm
Based on
sorry.
being a historic district.
I just feel like a historic district is different than any other kind of neighborhood. And there's a lot of, and I also, in a lot of these places, they're painted all in the alleyways, not necessarily on a building that's facing the courthouse. And I understand your discussion about all of that, and I understand that materials perhaps have changed. But I think we need a lot more education then about this material because I'm to the point now where I don't trust anybody. I just feel like sometimes we need an expert to come in here and educate us about paint then. So that's where I'm at. I came here tonight not very happy about painting the brick. If you could put it on something and put it into the mortar, everything stayed. And actually, I've been to seminars at Indiana Landmarks and, you know, where they talk about 50 years from now, 100 years from now, the building will still be there. Or probably, but we won't. And yet, then what? The paint will not be reversible. If you try and take it off, you're using whatever, you know, it's probably going to damage the brick. And then you have a greater problem. So I really don't know what to do because I hate to say no because I love the idea. I love the mural. I just don't want to paint the brick. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
And Jody, you're correct in saying there are other areas where you could put something like this. Like the,
Yeah, I mean, I understand all of the reasons why, but I just can't get my head around the fact that we would approve something that's in our guidelines when in the past we have not approved. And we even went to court over this, you know, over that and calling it artwork doesn't get past the whole thing of these are our guidelines. I remember when the gal put artwork on the side of the First National Bank building and called it artwork, and she drilled holes in the walls of it, and that was not right. And, you know, I just think you can't give it a label.
So for you both, it is 100% brick. It's not mural at all. It's 100%,
It's the brick
like
issue.
in a perfect,
I
in
love
a
the
perfect
mural,
world,
But
they
if it was
painted
on
this
the aluminum composite material
and then attached
and
to.
attached,
Oh, okay, I see what you're
you
saying.
know,
All right,
then
yeah.
I would say, yes, I love it. You know, or if there was I'm struggling a lot with it. And that's where I'm at.
Yes.
I'm not sure if everyone read the staff report
I
based off
did.
of some of these comments.
Yeah.
If I can get through my comments without being interrupted. I would like to point to some of the items in here. Those being the paint colors, the type of paint, what is law versus guidance. Title 18 is law, your guidelines are again guidelines. I would also remind everyone that everyone here serves at the pleasure of the mayor. The mayor has given his letter of support, so keep that in mind. Also, Okra, who has strong ties to the Indiana Landmarks, has also given their letter of support. All those things line up in a way, again, law versus guidelines. You guys are not law. And that is what it comes down to. So if your body simply exists to say you're going to follow the guidelines no matter what, there's no point for this
For the
body to
meeting
be
to happen because
Because
we
that
would
is
just
what I
go to
do.
guidelines and say, this is what it says and move on.
Right. That is what I do on the law side, Title 18.
Right.
Now, there's stipulations in there of where we have public hearings and different things like that. That is not how you guys are set up.
Right.
You guys are set up with guidelines and you interpret and vet projects.
Right.
So that is your guys' role. Not to say, well, if the guidelines say this, we have to treat them like law. So I think that's something in the past that has not been really understood. So I just want to make that very clear. It's okay because they're guidelines. Now, do I think when they say don't paint on brick, we need to vet the paint, vet what's going on, have an understanding of what's happening, who's painting it, their experience, how are they going to treat the brick? 100%. Because that is something that's very important, which is all detailed in the application and the staff report. So I just want to make that clear when we're talking about guidelines versus law.
Right. And I completely understand that. But that's also another reason that for me, these letters don't mean anything to me.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't care if these people like it or not. This isn't their town. And if
Oh, I thought you were talking about the mayor.
If the mayor wanted, well, I am, if he wanted to make the decision, then you know what I mean? I mean, it's the same thing with the guidelines. If we're gonna follow the guidelines word for word every time, then we don't need to meet. It would say, okay, here's what we're doing. What's the guidelines say? Done, you know? So I think that's all of it. To me, it's up for discussion, in my opinion. Like guidelines are guidelines, like she said, they're not law. But then at the same time, just, it doesn't matter to me if, everybody in the world wrote this. I mean, we're here to make the decision. So that's where, that's why I wanted to get you guys' opinion, Jody's opinion, anyone else, and see where they are with it. So. But again, we have the guidelines for a reason, because those are the things we'd like to see. But again, they're not law and they're open for discussion, which is why we're here. So. Now.
You wanna go around and
Go ahead.
ask each person how they feel and do a vote?
Yeah, I
Just see what
mean,
happens?
I don't know how you want, does anybody else have any more comments, anything they want to say?
I will say just a little factoid. Andrea Kern, she's actually of Souls Bay, and has familiar roots here in Steuben County in Angola.
Okay.
Who's the Okra rep that works in
And she-
Minneapolis.
Yeah. She is a historic preservationist by trade. So I mean, I respect her
And again,
opinion.
And again, that's fine. I'm not saying that these people are worthless. I mean, they probably have great opinion and great expertise, but I was just saying in general, that's why we meet, and that's why we
Well-
don't just say guidelines are law. Let's just refer to that and we don't need to meet. If, oh, well, this person wrote a letter, so let's just do it. You know what I mean?
Well, then if I might Burkett,
I'm not even saying for or against. I'm just saying in general.
and well, okay, the thing with murals, number one, the state is pushing that.
I don't have a
Three of
problem
the major not-for-profits in the county have talent attraction and retention in their strategic plans.
Right.
And this is the public art is one of the ways that have proven to do it. We need to attract younger people to move
Mhm.
into the area.
Mhm.
You know that. And that goes along with trails and all kinds of other things. I work on that quite a bit.
Well, again,
when we-
I'm not saying, none of the things I said was I was against murals.
No,
You brought
okay.
me into liking murals.
Okay, well then, I'm not trying to do
I'm
that.
saying
Just
why
saying
we are meeting,
this
it doesn't
is
mean.
this is going along with,
I
Lots of
personally, I think
people's
that's
plans.
beautiful, but I like the murals that have something to do with the town.
In the history.
You know what I mean?
Colors.
Like
too.
Orland's got that
Terrain.
Vermont settlement
and
or
I'm working with
whatever.
them to get money
You know what I
to
mean?
do that.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's
Not up to us
beautiful,
to decide
but
what we like.
I know, I was just saying in general.
This is my only concern. I mean, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
And I do think we need new people, new generation. We need to move
Yep.
forward. But I feel all the money, all the grant, I mean, we need to preserve the brick. Like, we're not even like taking care of the buildings, like tuck pointing and doing things like that. We're getting grants to put money to paint them, but we're not even fixing the brick first. And I'm not saying your building needs fixed, but where's that money? Why can't we do that, then paint or stain or whatever? That's my only opinion on it.
I see what you're saying.
She did state that she was going to do all that stuff if it needed done before the paint went on.
Craig, he's already,
I'm just saying in
That's
general.
what
I think yours is
The
more of a
money's-
hype, why is it
Yes.
set up this
Why is
way?
it that?
Yeah,
Because the owner of the building has to want to put some money into fixing the brick, because they can get grants.
Where? I've tried.
and this.
have you really?
there's
See, I haven't
there's not
tried.
a lot for maintenance.
Because I should
for-
probably
yeah.
do some stuff up
There's
top.
no.
And, okay, so there isn't. Okay, so maybe that's something we need to look into to how we could do that in the future.
And I believe this particular grant was.
It's
for
a
something
placemaking.
Artistic
Yeah.
placemaking grant.
But in
It's hard.
Indiana, in order to
It's
get
part
a
of that
grant,
Indiana marketing.
Yeah, so it would be hard to say, for general maintenance of buildings, that's a little those are a little harder to
It's-
find.
It is, because it's not gonna bring in
Yeah,
people.
it's fixing what's there. Yeah, it's like nobody
It's a
wants to get.
historical building.
Mhm.
Exactly.
But I, as a property owner, like, I feel like it's my responsibility. And, you know, for those of you that don't remember, that whole wall was covered with ivy. And yes, it's
Oh, yeah.
beautiful, but that's the worst thing for brick. So when we bought the building, we took it all down. Cause I said, it's gotta go.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm not, yeah, I love historic preservation. I love it. But we're also a living, breathing entity. We live here. We want to enjoy where we live and enjoy our properties. And I understand. I completely get it. And if they didn't have paint that lasted 25 years, that was breathable, permeable, and didn't have as harsh a chemicals as what traditional paint has, I wouldn't want to do it. But again, because things have changed so much, and who's to say in another 5-10 years, they don't have something that, you know, would remove paint from brick. You know, I don't have a
Yeah.
crystal ball, but I don't think the person that built this building said, in 100 and some years, I don't want anyone to be able to, I don't know. I mean, and I think it would be cool for the kids. I mean, they live here too. I know my daughter, she overheard I was talking and just a conversation. So I'll just tell this anecdotal story. And she ran upstairs. She got on the computer. She's 10. And she made a PowerPoint presentation on why we should have this mural. And at the end, she asked me, she goes, Mom, can you get me that picture? So I got the picture. And I don't know, to have that, it was cool to think someone that young is concerned with what's going on a civic level. But I think a lot of kids would dig it. It kind of reminds me of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. But ultimately, it's your decision, and it's okay, you know what I mean? Either way, it's just, this is the governing body that makes the choice.
I have a question for the outspoken brick people. No, I mean, okay, say today, just in theory, I went and painted my whole building blue, okay? Let's just say that, I painted all the brick blue. And then I just did nothing. How much faster is that brick gonna break down if there's paint on it versus if there's not? Do we know that? I mean, cause you say paint is bad for brick. How?
Because old brick
Mm-hmm.
has to breathe.
Okay.
So like my home and all these buildings,
Right.
like double brick with
Mhm.
insulation in between, and when they
Mhm.
get moisture or anything, it goes out through the brick. That's
Okay,
what I was telling
Okay.
It has to be burned down.
Brian, I was about the old Klein photography shop where they actually
Right.
used a mortar that was harder than the brick.
yeah,
So now none of the moisture can go through the mortar,
okay,
and you can look on the side of that building and it's just, the brick is just scooping out.
okay.
And I actually have some on my
Which
house.
one's that?
It used to be Klein's photography, so it has that
The slanted?
slanted.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
just been abandoned, so of course
Yeah.
it's gonna,
Which
nobody,
breaks my
yeah.
heart that.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody
you're gonna
is
have
doing
weeds and
anything
everything
with
because
this.
nobody's taking
Yeah.
care of it.
But the brick is going because
But I'm not saying everybody go paint their building hot pink, but I'm trying to completely understand, you know, the main purpose and why
so it's not,
you're against brick painting.
Brick can't
And I'm not
use-
saying that I am for or against. I just want to know, okay, so you're against the brick being painted because,
we can't breathe like old brick
Okay.
needs to do, and because it's an irreversible decision. I mean, I know you say you can
Okay.
take it off, but that's vastly expensive and
Mhm.
hard on the brick too, because it's.
But whether it can be taken off at an expense is that is irrelevant in this situation.
Well, I'm just saying it's
And it does-
irreversible. The
Yeah,
decision is
but you keep bringing up the expense. The expense isn't our thing to worry about.
Mhm.
If it costs her $50,000 to take the paint off, that's her expense.
I get that.
Okay,
But it's
well, then-
also an expense to the town, because if you're over a district, what if, take someplace that's been preserved, like the courthouse. So since 1867, they have preserved that courthouse, right? So we like the look. Now it's old. We hope they continue to preserve it. Well, what instead of preserving it, they decide that they want to add on some appendages here and there that kind of like what they did to the jail. It doesn't look particularly good.
Okay,
And so they've gone years trying to preserve the look of a building,
Mhm.
and then one set of commissioners blows everything. What if they knock the doors out or something, you know? And then you're saying, why do we care about the cost to the next owner? Because then the next person might come along and go, gosh, I sure wish it still looked like.
well, then they wouldn't buy it.
That's the
Then they
fault of
wouldn't
the
buy it if
owner.
they
Yeah,
don't like it.
Back to the thing that you
Yeah.
said about who, the owner buys it knowing what's going on.
Or, yeah,
The owner knows they're in a district and that the facade.
Well, I'm never gonna buy a building saying, man, I wish it looked like it did a long time ago. I'm gonna
then
buy
you
it
just
under
wouldn't
the,
buy it,
I just wouldn't buy it. I'm buying it under the
Right.
current conditions.
right?
I mean,
I'm
that,
not worried about who they're gonna sell it to. I'm not worried
I'm-
about that.
then why are
I'm
you
just
bringing
worried
it up?
about
I mean,
the
that-
district you can't go back on that decision.
All right, Jennifer?
So as someone who is historic preservation, in my education, so the brick, the problem is how they were created, right?
Okay,
In today's standards, they're compacted much more. So what Hope is saying, exactly, they need to breathe.
right,
As far as when they're painted with this permeable paint, there's really no difference in the.
in the breathe. So when you put this permanent
So-
paint on, it changes the color, but it's still able to
Now, if
breathe.
you would
Okay.
paint like, the paint that doesn't breathe, as long as, if it was sealed, even then it deteriorates faster, but if
Right.
there's nothing that gets in there that it's a little bit better, but they never get it sealed, right? So, that deteriorates much faster. The moisture lives inside and it can't ever get out.
Right. and
So
it
that's
could
basically
freeze
what
or
you're
whatever,
doing
yeah.
when you paint over brick, with that latex sort of paint. It
Mhm.
traps
It
moisture.
traps moisture and it can freeze and expand and all that.
Yep.
Okay, so
Will it peel or will it just fade over time?
it usually break,
With
if,
permeable paint?
yeah, here's an idea. If you wanna know,
Yeah.
go to, you know where my building is, right? You go like 2 down where Ernsberger was?
Yeah.
Okay, they painted it with that paint and it's breaking off underneath. The wrong, because they painted it with whatever kind of outdoor paint. So if you go to that, it has the funky like, I don't know,
Slow
like,
Jackson building, so it's arched windows.
yeah. Right next to Studio 2 or whatever. So that's what happens if you don't use the correct paint, correct?
Mhm,
Okay,
Yeah, JB, it said no peeling, flaking, fire resistant,
correct.
mold resistant, and UV resistant, which is
It-
important too.
okay,
If
and
you're
now,
going to, you're gonna have a hard time seeing the fading
Right.
over time.
Right.
With the permeable paint.
okay, now, okay, go ahead, yeah.
I know, but it fade.
I'm just thinking, if that's truly the case, then I think our guidelines need to reflect that. But we're not really here for that right now, but I think that needs to be put on our agenda, that we need to update our guidelines to reflect those kinds of improvements in materials so that
Technology, yeah.
there can be more freedom within the guidelines.
Right.
You know, because I thought,
Yeah.
I really don't want to go against what we've spent 20 years.
Right, which is completely
establishing.
understandable.
And
I
then-
get that, yeah.
You know, but I also realized that, and I just said this probably 2 months ago, that, you know, window materials have improved greatly. You can reflect that, you can replicate, you can, you know, make it look old, but it's new. The insulating factors are much better and
Right.
blah, blah, blah.
And I feel like we need to approve it because Trine, the hospital, I mean, they're our anchors. They're what supports Angola. They're the ones that bring in jobs to us. They want it. I mean, obviously. They write a letter of support.
But
I read the
think
master
very
plan,
forward
they-
Yeah.
thinking.
No, I don't know about this. Who said that they
Trying-
want it?
I mean, they-
Trine did a master
They did
plan
this.
recently and they brought in, the city.
WC.
Yeah, no, yes, yeah, they brought in the city and I attended several of them and the,
Trying on.
Public
town
art.
now.
no, it just came up. I'm just saying Chris is correct. It
We need to
came
look at
up.
a bigger picture than just this little wall, what they're really trying to do. I mean, we're just a little nobody committee. And we need to,
I have a.
We're not a
one more
nobody.
question. Colleen, would, so you were saying that this is just sort of a mock-up of it. So the blurry part at the top, is that going to be painted or is it gonna be more brick showing through?
She can do a little bit of a technique like she did in Auburn, so the sprinkling can. And like some of the colors of the flowers, are actually really similar to the brick. So she can do more like outlining.
An outline,
of some
okay.
of it. So her
It's like an
goal
Auburn
is to
mural.
paint as little bit as possible, even with the permeable, but yet still giving.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because
So-
when I
so-
looked at one of the pictures, it looked like it was more like that. I
Yeah.
thought.
So she would be using permeable paint for everything, not just like a base coat.
No.
It would all be-
There's a separate permeable primer, right, Colleen?
this is a different.
There's a primer you have to put on too.
There's something you have to put down first before you
The
paint.
Monarch one's- The Monarch one's different. Auburn, Indiana, try Indiana.
Now, I'm looking at this.
Yeah, that one.
And I want to make sure you have all the correct information. As part of this grant, one of the responsibilities is to put their is it Discover Indiana?
Oh, I read
Indiana.
that.
More to discover, you did read it?
I did
Okay,
read that
That's
that was
for
going to be
me
on.
determined as,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, the zoning.
That's fine,
administrator.
is that sign?
Mm, no.
sign-
I didn't
sign-
know,
okay.
yeah, I didn't know if that was approved.
It's a close-up of it.
Where?
That one's a close-up of Dave working on it.
Is it the one on
I'm
the?
just trying to
Auburn?
get the finish.
Well, see, again, then that's a car. That has something to do with
Yes, I do.
Auburn.
But what they did that same paint and they faded it into the brick on the edges, which I think is what Colleen's
I mean-
trying to.
Oh, I see.
So I was
I think
trying to
the-
get a picture of the finish, but
Oh, wait, go down.
you see it.
There's, right there, see that?
It is,
That one?
but that's close up.
Oh,
We need a, oh, here it is. Oh, no.
Oh, for Pete's sakes.
Oh, no, please.
And since,
And right there, they have a mural walk that you can go.
and I will say the artist Amy Books, since we presented her with these permeable paints, it's really made her rethink how she does. And because a lot of these murals, I don't believe she used the permeable paint.
She did not on most cities in Auburn. This one, Dave, I did talk to Dave and they did.
You did on that one?
I believe so. Because I was the zoning administrator when they did this one in Auburn.
So if you look really close.
Sorry.
It's hard to look close.
That's the best way.
But if you go look at the mural in Auburn, you can see where some of the brick is coming through every chance she's gotten.
Almost the entire mural, you can see the brick behind it. I know it looks very solid, but that's,
yeah, it looked like the color of a car or whatever.
Which is kind of true for the train in Orland.
Yes,
Because it's such a
yeah, they
subtle
do,
tone,
yeah.
sepia tone,
Yeah,
that
they got
where
that
it
subtle
has
colors,
worn
yeah.
out and the brick is showing, it actually still looks okay for me, although they want to repaint it, yeah.
Well, and it'd be nice to have, like someone said, something historical. But I'm not sure if this is the best location for that. For one, there's a lot of windows. I don't know, and not very many in traveling, I don't know, on US 20 or Wayne Street, you know, being in the circle, you know, those.
Can you even
roads-
see it from the road?
Not really.
No.
Oh, okay.
Uh-uh.
No, so this, think of it as a giant alley with a park in it. But you know, something like that where Hansberger, it used to be a map, you know, so people knew where they were going back in the day. I mean, that would be lovely someday to have that look nicer. Unfortunately, I mean, this is just a separate project.
Do you know if Main Street is intending to help any other businesses with the placemaking applications? Or,
I'm ex officio,
oh, okay,
so I'm not, I wouldn't know.
okay.
Would anyone like to make a motion? Anybody have any more comments?
I just feel with the color choices and the subject, which by the way, marigolds mean grief, just one feeling right now. I would, even if it was on a building that was already painted, I would feel like it was not visually compatible to the historic district.
And I think the subject matter is irrelevant. We're not picking the subject matter, but we're not here to vote.
Well,
on the
we're not
subject
gonna
matter.
approve a mural of naked people. It does matter a little.
Yeah.
But not completely.
I did go with hot pink peonies. I tried to match like
Yeah,
the other brick red area.
I think I liked it. I just, I have another question for Jennifer. What if somebody defaced a building? How would we get it off?
Ooh.
Well, it's spray paint, right? So
Yeah,
that
go check
kinda-
the side of
good
my building.
question.
It's on the side of my building.
Really?
Yeah. in the- in the
So
small
you would
hallway.
have to look at the
Small hallway.
surface that it was painted on, and then also what type of paint they
It's been
use,
there
and you
for
would
like
just
10 years.
figure out how to get it off from there. Sometimes it's chemicals, sometimes it's just elbow grease. It just depends on how good the surface is that you might be scrubbing on.
Because, you know, that happens sometimes.
It does, yep.
I do want to make a comment. We have muraled sidewalk in that pocket park, which has been there several years. It's not, I mean, it's outdoor paint and no one's ever defaced it.
No.
The mural that's on North Wayne, the two on North Main Street, neither one of them have been defaced. And there are studies that say if places are nice, people leave them alone. And there's a whole other statistics
Knock on wood.
talking about, you know, when you activate an area and make it look like people gather there, there's less crime. So I mean, and you know, I've talked,
I'm
Place.
on the, in the
Yeah.
little art
Yes.
Oh,
alley.
the Imagination Alley.
Yeah, and there was a door and they boarded it up with wood and they did a little mural. on the
Yeah,
wood,
oh, yeah.
Just on the wood part.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah, nobody's messed with it, have they?
Nothing.
Nobody's messed with Bob the Bison, and he's been there since
Yeah.
2016. At the,
Well, it's, and
Monument
it's pretty
Plaza.
dark in that alley
Mhm.
and if it was, you know,
I think the only thing, well, and I mean, the sculptures, I mean, we had a little something there one time because somebody crawled on it and I believe, okay, yarn bombing, poor Mrs. Blaze, someone stole the monster, but it was a kid and they brought it back. They brought it back. So. Yeah, and I don't know if there's, I don't know, I mean, we could probably get cameras outside.
No.
That's a factor.
I wasn't thinking about that. I just thought it's just a good thing to know.
I thought it was a good question. I'm glad to know it.
mm-hmm.
Well, and have any of the little libraries or the little food pantries been vandalized?
Our church one hasn't, to my knowledge, has it? Not that I know of. No, I
To
don't
my
know.
knowledge, I don't know it.
I don't know about Luann
Doing
Holmes.
that.
She probably would have mentioned it
Yeah, I would think
on
so.
Facebook or
Yeah.
something, so.
Any other comments, questions? Anyone like to make a motion?
I move we approve Main Street's application for the mural at 45 South Public Square. And does anybody want it contingent on colors or anything?
You can just
Okay,
say what's been presented.
what's been presented? As presented.
Second?
Okay. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Where's my checkbook?
Hope was the only nay, correct?
I changed my.
Okay, I just,
Provided that the paint is truly what you say it is.
You only go off the experts.
The only comment I have is thank you for trying to preserve the brick underneath
Yeah.
the paint. I appreciate that because that's under your belt and that's helping the building. So that's my comment for you. Thank you for doing
And I
that.
think it's very pretty, but if you're not set on it, doing something that's like angle-ish would be really cool.
Well,
I mean, I think it's really pretty, don't get me wrong, but it's like,
Kind
for
of goes
me.
though with
we
the
could-
park that's there.
Yeah, I get it, yeah.
we could
Yeah,
all.
I love like the Orla mural and LaGrange has one too on their side street.
I know
like
Mark
that.
Hansberger would,
I'm still holding
Liked
that
it.
for Mark to do that.
yeah, if we helped him apply for that grant, Jennifer,
He
he
wants-
might.
I did try once before, but
I know.
it was a negative experience.
I heard about it.
All in
I
one.
want with the mural.
And go
That's
over
why
here,
they
but
haven't done it,
We had a
because he
problem.
wants it.
Yeah.
He wants
you
it.
got,
we still have
you
something
got a big
else.
canvas over there.
Yeah.
Big wall. Yeah.
It's just a matter of-
Sutton's has a good wall, we can put something on.
You know, but it's people like that, they put money into their building and the brick is good and they're willing to, you know, if something needs fixed. You know, some of these other people are, you know, not willing to spend the money to fix their buildings.
Mhm.
But it shouldn't be, you know, always just taken for granted, you know. Paint over old brick, that's what, you know, they do some places.
Yeah,
Well, the whole purpose of these grants is really to, okay, what do we want to see? And the states look through their budgets, they develop the grants for what they want to see, and it's matching. So, there's Colleen does have, or will have some skin in the game. Because she did volunteer, Main Street doesn't have to pay a match. In fact, when she and her husband did the mural, it was a Northeast Indiana Regional Partnership thing, and my office coordinated it, on the building down there. What is it, 900 South Wayne? Oh, yeah, I know. And they were very helpful. Nobody even asked. Craig replaced the aluminum on the side of the building, so it would be a brand new pallet for the guy and stuff. So they're experienced, at least in taking care
Well, I
of
mean,
this
let's
stuff.
be honest, that building looks 100 times
Yeah.
better than just a gray aluminum building.
So,
well, and I just want to say no disrespect to the people who wrote these letters or to the mayor or to Trine or whatever, but I have a real problem when somebody tells me, hey, such and such says you should, so you should.
I know
So-
what you mean.
That just bothers me. It's like,
I get
well,
it.
Trine wants to do this, so now we have to move on.
I get it.
Other than the
Well,
mayor's.
The mayor
The mayor
said that and we were.
But remember how
Employed by him,
guys
so we
are
should
all
do what he
appointed.
does.
So there's places they yank you if you don't agree.
And if that is what he wishes, then that is what he wishes. But
So,
because someone tells me what to do,
yeah, all
I,
the other ones were simply offering, here's what they know, here's,
and I appreciate that, but yeah, I appreciate that, but, and it, You know what I mean?
I
Like,
thought
it's
maybe
like, well, the mayor
retired.
appointed you, so you need to vote.
I'm worried about
Wait, what?
We should.
Even if it's not right.
Yeah, right.
I mean, this,
Yeah.
we did.
And I love,
I think we did.
I like him a lot, you know?
But
Yes.
you're right, I don't- I
Yeah.
typically don't care what's
Yeah,
happening.
and it's like, oh, try.
Thank you again. I mean, I know this is going off subject, but like I told her, I'd rather have the building
Anyway,
restored and you're working on that before you put the paint. And that to me is a lot for an owner trying to preserve the brick itself. So,
We love the building.
I mean, that is the only thing that pointed
It
out to
was my
me.
first job.
That's why I didn't question nothing because I
Okay.
appreciate that you're ready.
Remember that
Putting that
building
up.
was full of
Thanks.
orders, crap, yeah.
So in other business, just reporting back that, the Preserving Main Street grant, we were not selected. You're in the top, they're gonna work with McKinsey on potentially some other grants, but not the $1 million grant. And that's all she had to report.
now do they do this regularly,
Preserving, this is the second round they've ever done. They select two,
once a year?
it was like 2 years ago. So, yeah,
Well, I
they're
was
like
just
taking their
wondering,
time on it.
okay, yeah.
We got selected.
Was it Wabash?
2 years ago, it was Wabash.
2 years ago, Wabash and
Yes, because
Kendallville.
we were like quarterfinals. We did
Yeah.
make it.
Yeah, Kendall hooked up.
Kendallville got it. This year it's a W too.
Oh, is that?
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe Warsaw if it wasn't Wabash.
I
It was-
don't remember.
I remember a W, that's all I can say.
Alright. Any comments from members?
Well, I did speak to a business owner today and I forwarded him the application and everything else, so I assume you're gonna fill it out. I think we'll see more people coming in
Okay,
with these placemaking grants.
okay. Staff, any other comments? Okay. That's it?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Alright,
Second?
alright, meeting
Thank
adjourned.
you, guys.
Who seconded that?
You just asked.
Oh, you did, oh, I looked at you and I thought you were gonna say it, so that's why I got.
That's just hard.
Well, and that's the thing.
No,
if-
no,
if-
don't
I
worry
mean,
about it.
no, I don't care, but that's the point, if because I'm not gonna be pushed around, then they wanna yank me, then they
No,
yank
I
me.
mean,
I appreciate people's opinions, I get really defensive if somebody's like, well, such and such likes
I think
this.
this will.
Well,
oh,
then what do I
Yeah.
care? You know,
I
You know what I
get
mean?
that. I can see
it's
that.
not anything against anyone in particular,
Yeah,
it's
see, that
just how I get.
yeah, that
It must be a
doesn't really-
thing from my childhood or something,
Probably,
because
yeah,
when
'cause that-
somebody says, well, such and such thinks this is a good idea, it makes me want to do it less.
Yeah, that doesn't
And
really
it's
bother
just-
me that